السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه، أما بعد. وإن من شيء إلا يسبح بحمده ولكن لا تفقهون تسبيحهم. Everything make tasbih, they praise Allah, but you do not understand how they do so. When we started tahajjud around 2:30, 2:45, we started listening to the birds outside. I don't know how many of you noticed that. And they started to become loud. And I thought maybe one bird got confused. But then there are many. And there were not one kind, different chirps. And as soon as Fajr came, it stopped. You cannot hear them now.
That was the first time, Sheikh. That was the first time that we heard them during the Hajj.
Right. I've never heard them during the Hajj before.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And I thought it will continue until Fajr. I mean, if it has to do with the light, okay, maybe something, but but they stopped at Fajr. Okay. And just what came to my mind is, what came to anybody's mind when you hear this? Well, it's time for tasbih. Okay. Okay, what is Laylatul Qadr? What is حتى مطلع الفجر. سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. Okay. والله أعلم. But it is, as we were listening to the ayat, Zain, the last one who was reciting, Zain, he was reciting, إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب. Okay, in the creation of the heaven and the earth, and the difference between days and night, ayat for those who think and reflect. Okay, and the birds were were chirping outside. Okay, and this ayat was with us, listening at the ayat of Allah in the creation and the ayat of Allah in the Quran at the same time. Okay, and this is something, it's an act of worship, reflecting on the creation that Allah created and Allah's attributes in His creation. It is an act of worship. When this ayat was revealed upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was standing all night repeating it, and told Bilal radiallahu anhu, saying, "Woe to those who listen to this ayat, do not reflect on it." This ayat of reflecting on the creation, on the attributes of Allah in everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. I said this many times. One sister during the sister's halaqah, one time she said, we were talking about the attributes of Allah and different attributes and so forth, and then she said that her daughter, little girl, and her were walking in the woods and taking a stroll, and then her daughter wandered here and there, and then she came running. She said, "Mommy, come, I want to show you something." And she took her to inside, off the trail a little bit, and she said, "Look at this." And she said it was a beautiful flower. Beautiful. Never seen anything like it before. And the little girl points at the flower and said, "Mommy, isn't this beautiful?" She said, "Yes." She said, "Allah must be very beautiful." Okay. This is the fitrah of a child. Okay? Well, that is a hadith. Inna Allah jameel yuhibbul jamal. Allah is beautiful and loves that which is beautiful. Okay? So when you reflect on that, there is no stopping or reflecting. We were just eating food. And the food I was eating, it was like pasta. And you know, pasta is kind of plain. But then I tasted it was delicious. Very delicious. Everybody who took a taste of it, they said that it's very delicious. Okay? That pasta we can eat it as fuel. We can eat food as fuel. Right? What do we need the food for? To function. So we can take food in as fuel. And that would be sufficient enough, and that would be great, and that would be bounty from Allah upon us. Okay? You're taking your what you need to move on and keep functioning in life. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you the sweet, give you the salty, give you the sour, give you the colors, the red and the yellow and the green, and so forth. What is that? This is a fuel, whether it is this or that. But it is another bounty from Allah upon us, that taste, that you put it in your tongue and you enjoy it. Okay? We take all of this for granted. And there are really those who have bounty from Allah, the one who reflect on all of this. We do not, there is a book who I heard, meaning I heard the book in recording, and the subtitle of it was about children, the children and the nature deficit disorder. The nature deficit disorder, meaning he reflected upon how the children, it's not a Muslim book, it's just a book of somebody who's making that observation that the children who are raised today, they are disconnected with nature. And nature has to offer to them, according to him, right? Nature has to offer to them so much. And without taking from the nature around, they're not complete. They're not quite grown up. Okay? Now with all the screens that the children carry with them, different screens here and there, they do not even talk to one another or to us. They're completely gone into virtual life. There's no reality anymore. The more we reflect all around us, the more we get to know about the attributes of Allah. And the more we get to know about the attributes of Allah, the more we know Allah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to make dua, saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I ask you by كل اسم هو لك, every name that belongs to you. Okay, the name that علمته أحدا من خلقك, أنزلته في كتابك, brought in, send it in your book, علمته أحدا من خلقك, taught it in some to some servant or slaves of yours, Ya Allah. أو استأثرت به في علم الغيب عندك, or you preferred it for you and nobody knows it, Ya Allah. We ask you through these names. And لله الأسماء الحسنى فادعوه بها, that for Allah belongs the beautiful attributes and names, so call him through these names. And when we reflect on the names, it's not just a name. It is a word that has a meaning. And that meaning has many layers. Many layers. And we are also carrying part of that meaning because Allah created us from his attributes. So we become familiar with, to become familiar with an attribute, but then with Allah it is the epitome of that attribute. So when we enter Jannah, inshallah, then many things will happen, but two things I want to talk about. One is the instrument with which you detect the names of Allah becomes enhanced. Meaning, we will be created a different creation. And no ghil in our heart. And no diseases in our heart. And no sins that we will carry. So that instrument of the body now that we have as enter in Jannah can detect the beauty of the attributes of Allah even more and more and more. But then when you enter Jannah, you'll find attributes that you actually did not detect in this life, in the previous life at all. And the attributes that you detected in the previous life, you will sense it in a very enhanced way. So when we say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, here what do we say? We try to think about Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim and reflect on it so you could get to feel it, get to know it. You exert an effort. But in Jannah, you do not need to breathe in and out to exist because there is no death. But the breath that we'll have will be tasbih. Tasbih will come from us, from our mouth. That means we will detect and sense the attributes of Allah in a magnificent and a huge way. And now you're going to experience attributes that you did not know at all. But then you also, instead of sensing the attributes of Allah and beautiful attributes of Allah, it has to do with reflection. Now you'll be able to see Allah. Now, that is the ultimate reward. But then, Allah will talk to you. Allah will talk to you. Rasulullah ﷺ describes the believers, they're all sitting, okay? And some will sit on a kusban min misk, a little mount of musk, right? Some will be, standing some other things here and there. Okay, they all will, and Allah will talk to them. Ay full, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, as according to the hadith, meaning fulan, meaning you, meaning you, particular you. So everyone will think Allah will talk to them alone. Allah will talk to everyone, but each one will think that Allah is talking to them alone. This is what this life is about. It's about that moment, that the great success you'll be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the greatest success is when you are there and you hear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us that He informs us that He will be pleased with us and never get angry with us. That is the waladayna mazid, that is the mazid. This is and we have more, that is what's more. So now, what is more in Jannah is something that you realize. That's something that you see or touch or taste. That is a lower kind of a pleasure. But the highest pleasure is something that you realize. You realize in the depth of your being that Allah loves you and you love Allah. That is the ultimate reward. It's a reward that you know that you have no fear nor you have any grief. Okay? No fear of the past, no grief for the past, no fear of the future. Can you imagine a life like that? You have no fear of what happens next whatsoever. No concern of what will happen next. And no regret on what happened in the past. And when one in this life is close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, close to the attributes of Allah, you know that Allah is the most forgiving. So when you ask Allah to forgive you, Allah forgives. So what past is past. And you know that what happens in the future is by the will of Allah, and Allah is the most loving to you and the most caring, the most knowledgeable and the most wise. So what would happen in the future is perfect for you. So at that moment, you could sense لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. And if one can detect this in this life, you captured a part of Jannah, maybe for a split second or so. Okay. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our siyam and accept our qiyam and our sujood and ruku'. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from among those who are exempt from hellfire. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.